This is the spirit with which the ANC Parliamentary Caucus commit to conduct itself. Madam Speaker, our commitment to the principles of the National Democratic Revolution remains unwavering. We believe that the path to a united and prosperous society presented to us by the current context lies in our ability to pull together across party lines. This is not merely a political strategy, but a moral imperative, rooted in our shared history and our collective future. Thank you very much.
Your time is up. Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. M.J. Hlophe.
Right. Thank you, Madam Speaker. In view of time constraints, I will simply say all protocol observed. Thank you. In view of time constraints, I rise here on behalf of Umkhonto weSizwe, the party which I lead in Parliament, and the party which was I rise here on behalf of Umkhonto weSizwe, the party which I lead in Parliament, to respond to the speech that was made by the President last night. Our position is as follows. The establishment of the Government of National Unity is singularly a very cruel joke by the Ramaphosa faction of the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, perpetuated against the oppressed and downtrodden masses of our people. Our people are painfully aware that it would be impossible to create a united nation in South Africa unless the legacy of colonialism and apartheid was addressed. For a very long time, South Africans have been constituted by two nations, one black, poor, and economically disempowered and excluded, and the other white, rich, and in command of most of the means of production, material, and incorporeal resources and advantages of our society. These are not my words. These are the words of the former president, Thabo Mbeki. He uttered these words many years ago, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed fundamentally since Thabo Mbeki made those remarks. My question to you, President, is this. Through what magic do you hope to forge a national unity of the oppressor and the oppressed, the exploiter and the exploited? The rich capitalists and the rich capitalists and the toiling and exploited working class. Our position is very clear. When the ANC could not secure majority, it became desperate, and the government, so-called Government of National Unity, was no more than a desperate and deliberate attempt to hold on to power. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Now, if the ANC formed the so-called Government of National Unity on the basis that it was the largest party, you ask yourself, why was that principle not extended to the province of KZN? It is a fact that Umkhonto weSizwe won the province of KZN convincingly. We know that. That is a fact. That is a fact. Now, if there was consistency in the principle that the party which has the largest majority One would have expected that to be done in KZN. The students of political science, Mr. President, will tell you a simple fact. You don't form a government of national unity when there is no crisis. A government of national unity is formed when there is a crisis. We had it in 1994 in this country. We had it in 1994 in this country because there was a crisis and we're emerging from apartheid. There is no crisis. The only crisis is that the ANC has lost the majority. Now, we understand why the ANC has lost the majority, and you know it too. What I find striking is this. There were so many parties that campaigned openly against the ANC. There were many parties that said they will never work with the ANC. But when they were offered blue lights, they suddenly fell in love with the ANC. Quite frankly, I respect someone like Minister Gayton McKenzie, whose views were always clear. He said he will work with any party, and he has been consistent in that regard. There are parties here which campaigned against the ANC, but when the opportunity to be on the gravy train came, they went for it. The MK party is very clear. We are aware that your propagandists have been spreading the lie that a national unity government in South Africa could help deepen democracy because it means no one political party can impose its agenda on all and sundry. But we are not fooled, Mr. President. We are not fools. It is very clear that the DA has a veto power in respect of the so-called government of national unity. The MK party was excluded and denied participation in the sellout GNU because we do not agree with the ANC and the DA racist on many fronts. In our manifesto, we were loud and clear. I quote, "The MK Party is committed to transformative change across all sectors of South African society. Our policies are designed to address the most pressing challenges we face today."
Order. Order, honorable members. Can we all be in order and allow the speaker on the podium to proceed?
I will go back to our manifesto. The MK Party is committed to transformative change across all sectors of South African society. Our policies are designed to address the most pressing challenges we face today: economic inequality, inadequate access to quality education and healthcare, national security threats, inequitable land distribution, and the need for robust traditional leadership and foreign policies that reflect our values and aspirations. Through our manifesto as the MK Party, we aim to lay down a clear path towards a more equitable, secure, and prosperous future for all South Africans. The restitution of land to black South Africans remains a yardstick against which sellout ANC and DA-GNU government, against which your performance will be measured. Land has symbolic value to us. It means so much to us. As President Mandela once said in 1995, "With freedom and democracy came restoration of the right to land, and with it the opportunity to address the effects of centuries of dispossession and denial. In a similar vein, President Luthuli of the ANC once declared the following. He said, "Without land, there is no dignity." Our own president, Msholozi, said the following. He said the following, "Iy'nkinga zethu zaqala ngesikhathi kufika abamhlophe kuleli. Bathatha umhlaba wethu, bathatha nomcebo wethu, bafika nomthetho wabo, bazenzela unothanda nje. Namhlanje asinamhlaba, namhlanje asinamfuyo, konke kwathathwa ngesihluku. Salwa silwela umhlaba wethu, asizange sivele siwanike abelungu." At this point, I want to recognize our traditional leaders who are here as part of Umkhonto weSizwe, because in Umkhonto weSizwe, we believe that the land belongs to the nation and the land belongs to the people. His Majesty, the King of the Khoi and the San people, Glenn Taiposh. His Majesty, King Dalindyebo Matutu. His Majesty, King Zwelethhu Mthethwa is here. And finally, our own president is a king, Ubaba Zuma. Yes, he is.
Order.
Our position is very clear.
Order.
Our position is very
Honorable
clear.
members, when we are heckling, we can do so without drowning the speaker. If we want to converse among ourselves, we can also do so without drowning the speaker. Can we please allow the speaker to proceed?
Our position is very clear. Umkhonto weSizwe was formed because we believe that the ANC of Ramaphosa is not capable of delivering. It has failed dismally. It has
Order.
failed the...
Honorable Speaker, can you take a seat? Honorable Ndlozi, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. There are people in the House, Speaker, who are drowning the Speaker. We never disrupted anyone. And you
Order,
are-
honorable members. I want to hear the point of order. What's the point of order, Honorable Ndlozi?
I'm saying that you are not protecting the Speaker on the podium. He's been drowned
I've just done that.
because people are losing their heads here. I don't know.
Honorable
you lost
Ndlozi.
votes, now you are losing your
Order.
heads. Listen to the
Order.
honorable judge.
Honorable
With
Ndlozi.
discipline.
Honorable
Please,
Ndlozi,
Speaker,
take your seat.
protect the
Take
Speaker
your
on the
seat.
podium.
Order, honorable members. When we make points of order, we do just that. We don't have a debate. Can we now ask Honorable Hlophe to proceed with his speech?
May I proceed? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'm going to proceed.
Order. The Chief Whip of the DA, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I believe during his point of order, the Honourable Ndlozi referred to the Speaker at the podium, the Leader of the Opposition, as Judge Hlophe. I don't think that an impeached judge can be called a judge anymore. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I have ruled, can we all be in order and allow the speaker on the podium to proceed? Honorable member, you have your point of order.
Well, I'm not going to descend to that level. I've got
Honorable
better
Speaker, can
titles.
you take your seat? Yes, Honorable Member, what's your point of order?
Mhlali ngaphambili
Yeah.
ngibawa yinye into. I know ukuthi you are not sitting there as umuntu wakwagogo. Sibawa ukuthi indlu kube neorder. Ngoba into leyenzeka nje. Mase kunomunye in particular ama racists makakhuluma la. We'll respond with the way they are
Order,
responding.
Honorable Member.
Ujudge Hlophe akaliswe
Order.
our leader ukuthi aqede speech sakhe, please.
Honorable Member.
We have listened to Chief Whip
Can you
ANC.
please take your
Azange
seats?
simdisturb, please.
Ngicela ukuthi amalunga ahloniphekile alendlu yesishayamthetho sonke silalelane. Ngikhulumile nani nonke ngathi sicela ukuthi sinikeze umuntu oseqongeni akwazi ukukhuluma. Kodwa nonke uma senikhuluma senixokozela akazukwazi ukuthi simuzwe. Nathi thina ke esimxhasayo ngicela nje ukuthi sonke simlalele. Qhubeka lunga elihloniphekile.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, in 2022, the World Bank reported that inequality in South Africa gave South Africa an inequality in South Africa. South Africa is a country which has a problem to do with inequality. It reported that 80% of the country's wealth was in the hands of 10% of the population. And it is the black population who factor most in the poorest category. The report places the blame for the income disparities directly on race. The legacy of colonialism and apartheid, rooted in racial segregation, continues to reinforce inequality in South Africa, the report stated. This is clear proof that the end of formal apartheid in 1994 did not end the real problems that we have in this country. And against that, I'm asking you, President, how are you hoping to sustain the so-called government of national unity when your interests are fundamentally and diametrically opposed in the so-called government of national unity? As the MK party, we are interested in genuine and real transformation of South Africa. This cannot simply mean having a nice, toothless constitution or so-called world's best constitution. We are not and can never be satisfied with our judges regurgitating Roman law, which was imported into this country through the genocidal force and forced down our throats. When we were colonized, we had our own systems of justice in place. African customary law, which is close to our heart. Colonization brought with it a foreign legal system, Roman Dutch law, and this was done in order to protect and preserve the interests of those who colonize us. I challenge you to tell me a single country in Europe which is governed by African law. A single country in Europe which is governed by African law. If you can't tell me, why do we allow Roman Dutch law, which does not reflect the views and the aspirations of the majority of the people in this country? Why do we allow that to be a system in place? Why? The conclusion is inescapable that that legal system is there to preserve the interests of the privileged white minority in South Africa at the expense of millions of poor black people that we represent in this parliament. It is our considered view that the speech that was delivered by the President yesterday fails on so many fronts. The President mentioned building infrastructure in rural areas. I don't know when that is going to start. He has never done it before. What would make us believe that he would suddenly now focus on rural areas as a priority? Why would he suddenly do that now? You have never done it before, Mr. President. It is our considered view that if we want to bring about fundamental changes, we need to invest in infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. Now, the problem is, where is money going to come from? Because we keep borrowing money every day, Mr. President. Our view is further that we need serious agrarian revolution in this country to turn things around in agriculture. We need agrarian revolution, which has been lacking. Rural areas in the main have not been taken seriously. Whilst, of course, the struggle continues for Section 25 of the Constitution to be amended. We are not apologetic about our stance. We remain firm. Section 25 of the Constitution must be amended. It is our considered view. Thank you. It must be amended to make provision for expropriation of land without compensation. That is the only way we can redress imbalances of the past and ensure that each and every South African has access to land in this country. Once there is access to land, so many of the problems that we have will be dealt with. For example, there will be no influx control. We all know people leave rural areas because they are not developed. They are poorly resourced. They leave rural areas, go to big cities like Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg, looking for better opportunities. When they get there, there are no opportunities. But if land were to be restored to our people, they will be confined in those areas, provided they are developed. There will be no need for them to leave those areas and go to urban areas. Furthermore, access to land will ensure that everybody has bread on the table. I know there are members in some of the parties who say there is Ingonyama Trust land, for example, in KZN, and that land is not being used. That is clearly a lie. People who live in those areas are not dependent on your 350 rand per month, Mr. President. They are serious farmers. They practice subsistence farming in those areas. They are not dependent on your 350 rand for them to live. So we need to invest in agrarian revolution, make sure we turn things around. The other way of generating jobs, which is covered in our manifesto, we should reintroduce compulsory military training. That will absorb our young men and women who have no job and teach them to be disciplined. It will immediately turn things around. There is no question about it. We clearly need to reduce spending. It is very clear as a result of this bloated cabinet. It's all about blue lies. It's all about fancy cars, and you have forgotten the reason why you were elected, Mr. Ramaphosa, in the first place. We have forgotten the reasons. You have, to put it bluntly, you have sold out. We in the MK will continue to fight for Section 25 of the Constitution to be amended. We will continue to fight for the improvement of the quality of the life of our people, particularly those who live in rural areas, who are by and large black and I'm using the term black generically. Until those aspirations, we will continue to fight. We will do it in a peaceful and lawful manner. There are parties here, some of them are in government, in the government of national unity. I've heard some people, ministers, advocating the death penalty. That is unconstitutional, and nobody has said they are acting unconstitutionally. The death penalty was outlawed in this country way back in 1995. Now, to find a cabinet minister advocating death penalty without the constitution being amended is ridiculous. Where we come from in the MK party, we will continue to act within the law, and it is our right as politicians to act within the law so that the law can be changed, so that it will benefit the majority of the people in this country. Until such time that Africa and Africans are free, the struggle will continue. And insulting us and howling at us or pretending that we are talking nonsense is not going to help. As long as the question of land is not being addressed in this country, as long as the question of land is not being addressed seriously, as long as we are being ridiculed, we will continue to fight. That is why, for example, we are challenging these elections results because they were rigged. They were rigged. We know as a fact that we won, certainly convincingly, even in KZN, we know that as a fact. Our results, our votes were stolen and given to certain people who are now comfortably. We will continue with the fight until such time that we get our land back. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Steenhuisen. Honorable Steenhuisen.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you for that wonderfully warm welcome from the Hardy-Dar benches. Madam Speaker, Mr. President, for far too long, our country's enormous potential has been held up and held captive by political forces that seek to break down rather than to build up.
Order, honorable members. Order, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Ndlozi, what's the point of order? What is the point of order?
Sorry, Speaker, I was switching on the mic. No, I wanted, Speaker, respectfully to address this honorable member with his rightful title as a matriculant, seeing that there are confusions of titles today.
Honorable
This is a
Ndlozi.
judge.
Honorable
Now
Ndlozi.
you have a matriculant.
Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable members. Order. Honorable members, you have just been into an induction after your election. You were advised what are the points of orders, what are the rules, and it's very disappointing that some of you are doing exactly the opposite. Honorable Ndlozi, you know that was not a point of order, and it's actually spurious. Order, Honorable Steenhuisen, can you proceed?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think that the grannies and the pensioners and the Stokvels who had their money stolen from them at VBS don't sleep any better knowing that the people who stole from them have doctorates and master's degrees. You see, time and time again, they've used populist politics and racial rhetoric to break down any attempt at building a consensus over the growth-enhancing reforms that our economy so desperately needs. They have done so deliberately because it is only by sowing division and preventing reform that they can keep institutions weak, keep the taps of corruption flowing, and stay out of jail for their many misdeeds. For far too long, we've allowed those who seek to break our country down for their own personal benefit and gain to hold back the builders who yearn for a South Africa with a growing economy that creates millions of new jobs. But the 2024 election, where the people of South Africa chose a new path by not giving any party a majority and forcing us to create a multi-party government, offers us the most important opportunity and the most powerful opportunity in recent history to overcome the suffocating grip that the breakers have held on our economy and society. The Government of National Unity is South Africa's chance to free itself from populism, division, and economic decline. This is our opportunity now to build South Africa into the prosperous country that we know it can be together. And that is exactly what the Democratic Alliance is going to do in government. We are in this government of national unity because we have said loud and clear that we want to build South Africa. We don't want to break South Africa. Last night, the President said, and I quote, "The Government of National Unity will pursue every action that contributes to sustainable, rapid economic growth and remove every obstacle that stands in the way of growth," unquote. In all of the portfolios where the DA is represented, both in the executive and in Parliament, we're already moving with speed to do exactly that. We have proudly answered the call, Mr. President, to serve South Africa first. And, Mr. President, the DA's Weaver birds are already eagerly at work. In agriculture, we are building a South Africa by partnering with the private sector to enhance biosecurity, extension services, international trade, and to turn the agricultural sector into an engine room of economic growth and job creation. In public works and infrastructure, we're exposing corruption and building the foundations to turn South Africa into a giant construction site that grows our economy. At Home Affairs, we are tackling the visa backlog that you referred to, Mr. President, and reforming the system to bring in the valuable skills we desperately need to build our country. In forestry, fisheries, and environment, we are unlocking funding to get the Just Economic Energy Transition Partnership to build the industries of the future. In basic education, we are restoring the dignity of our children by reducing pit toilets and building the skills of tomorrow. And in communications and digital technologies, we're building a new digital ecosystem to drive the modernization and digital transformation of our society. But it doesn't end there. In finance, trade and industry, energy, higher education, small business development, and water and sanitation, DA deputy ministers are also helping to weave the reforms that we need to grow our economy. In Parliament, the DA Weaver birds are just as busy helping to build the home that we all want. Our portfolio committee chairs are going to drive reforms through the legislature to ensure that we remove all legislative obstacles that stand in the way of unleashing the growth that our country needs. Mr. President, the recent Cabinet Lekgotla that you convened has given us the key ingredients.
Honorable Siyanezan, can you take your seat? Honourable Member, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I'm Visvant Reddy from Konto Wesizwe Party. I rise in terms of Rule 81, and I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker, in terms of the Speaker's list. The Speaker that's on the podium currently, is he speaking on behalf of the DA or as the Minister of Agriculture? Thank you.
Honourable Member, that is not the point of order. The Speaker's list, the members of the executive also belong to their parties. So that's not a point of order. Honourable Member, you can proceed. Honourable Steenhuisen, you can proceed.
He may be ready, but I'm able. The Government of National Unity has identified the apex priorities to unleash rapid and inclusive economic growth, to create jobs as our apex priority. To achieve this, we have identified and committed to a responsible fiscal path that reduces the national debt in order to free up more money and resources for productive investments. The planned review of the sectoral master plans to identify obstacles to growth emphasize and focus on our need for exports, slashing red tape, crowding in private sector investment, and these are the key ingredients that we need. We welcome the interventions to expand the basket of VAT-free goods so we can put food on the tables of more South Africans at a cheaper price. Specialized policing units to fight violent crime and the construction mafias. These policy changes are some that the DA has long advocated for, and we believe they will make a meaningful impact on our people. Now, while the Government of National Unity has met the requirement for sufficient consensus outlined in the Statement of Intent, some key matters of economic policy and other issues around how we deal with problems going forward, it is important to acknowledge that there are still some areas of divergence that require attention. This is a natural feature of any multi-party government anywhere in the world. For example, the need for universal access to basic health care for every citizen, regardless of the economic status, is important. And there are some discussions going on about the best way to achieve that, to ensure that we can fast-track it. The same goes for the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. However, in all of these areas of divergence, which are natural when you bring 10 parties together, I am convinced that we can find a way forward. It will be requiring us to be honest and diligent about where these differences exist and to work in good faith with one another to find solutions in the best interests of all of the people of South Africa. Honourable Speaker, if this Government of National Unity succeeds in delivering on its apex priority of growing the economy and creating jobs, then the builders will defeat the breakers once and for all. And this is because if we rapidly expand growth and job creation, we will diffuse the populist tinderbox that the breakers continuously exploit for their own gain. Let me tell you right now that the single greatest fear of the breakers in this House is that the Government of National Unity succeeds in growing the economy and making South Africa a better place. The greatest fear of the breakers is not that South Africa fails. It'll suit them just fine. If the country goes up in smoke, it'll fuel the politics of division and hatred upon which they thrive. No, the breakers' greatest fear is that South Africa succeeds and our people prosper. Because if that happens, it will destroy the foundation upon which the breakers have built their ugly politics of resentment and populism. But the choice between building and breaking is not ours alone. The creation of the Government of National Unity means that every South African now stands before an important choice. Who wants to be a builder rather than a breaker? And we need those citizens who want to be builders to strengthen the Government of National Unity's hand. To be clear, the Government of National Unity will not be a kumbaya chorus. No multi-party government ever is. And if you've seen successful weavers' nests, you will know quite clearly that things do get noisy from time to time. But this GNU represents the broad interests. And the truth is that the builders in our society have to make this government work, because the parties who sit on the opposite side of the GNU want to break South Africa beyond all repair through their looting, their populism, their Gupta selling out, their VBS looting, and their violence. And so to every South African, I say now is a time for the choosing.
Order, Honorable State Liaison.
Are you a builder or are you a breaker?
Can you take a seat? Order, honorable members, what is your point of order?
No, Chair. Let me just clarify it first on your table.
Is that a point of order?
No, it's not a point of order.
What is the point?
Let me.
Order.
I just want to check if Mr. Steenhuisen, does he really understand what he's saying?
Honorable member, that's not the point of order. Thank you very much. Honorable Steenhuisen, can you proceed? Honorable Steenhuisen, can you proceed with the speech?
When you drive north from here, you will find a magical part of South Africa known as the Kalahari. When you get there, you know that the most successful weaver nests are the ones where as many birds as possible work as hard as possible to build and protect their shared home. And whenever they see a boomslang coming in there to try and steal the eggs, they work together to sound the alarm and protect their home. And so it must be for South Africa. To the breakers, to them I simply say that even the wiliest boomslang doesn't stand a chance when 60 million weaver birds unite to build and defend the home that we love. And that is exactly what South Africa must do now. South Africa, are you a builder or are you a breaker?
Order.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Mantashe. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable Mantashe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mamtoko Titiza, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Umeri Filwe Mtsweni-Tsipane, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, the Deputy President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Spokoshe Mashatile, honorable members of this House. We start this debate with a big temptation to engage one another on peripheral battles and imagined battles, rather than focusing on the task at hand. And we have chosen not to succumb to that temptation, Honorable President, and not to play to the gallery, but opted to engage on real important issues.
Honorable Mantashe, can you take your seat? What is the point of order, Honorable Ndlozi?
Speaker, I wanted to check if it's parliamentary for Honorable Mantashe to put the wrong button in the wrong.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Ndlozi, can you please
I'm protecting the dignity of GNU now.
Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable members, can we take ourselves seriously and each other seriously too? This is an important debate, and I don't think it is an honor for each one of us to actually cast aspersion or to actually impugn on another person's character. Honorable Mantashe, you can please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Ndlozi, for helping me out. Thank you. So, the real challenge facing us in this House is to put our heads together and find lasting solutions to massive problems facing our country. Shadow boxing is not a helpful approach to that. It's better to be in the ring and battle on real issues. It is in this context that I will focus on one apex priority that the Government of National Unity has announced by the President. I'm focusing on the inclusive economic growth and employment creation. That is quite important. It's a burning crisis for the country. The National Development Plan 2030 enjoins us to eliminate poverty, reduce inequality, and make it a priority for all of us to create employment opportunity for the people of South Africa. If we subscribe to the objectives of the NDP and agree that we have a collective responsibility to address high unemployment, we must therefore put our heads together and come up with formula that will work and ensure employment is created. To this end, I'm going to focus on the primary sectors of the economy. Primary sectors of the economy are important in the sense that it is strong primary sectors that will ensure that there is sustainable secondary and tertiary development in the economy. So those primary sectors are mining, agriculture, and petroleum. Those are primary sectors of the economy. And therefore, in our view, we need to deal with them, address them decisively to set a foundation for secondary and tertiary economic development in the country. And then we must also respond to the outcry of our people that our jobs are being taken by foreign nationals. It's a cry. It is not getting the right interpretation. The reality of the matter is, it is the bottom end of the labor market that needs our attention. For example, we support the visa regime as envisaged to attract skills and investment into the economy. We support that fully. But we say it should be complemented by us paying attention to the fact that at the lower end of the market, we're not paying attention. And that is where the employment crisis is. In other words, we make the point that it is not xenophobic to say, please protect sectors that do not want complicated skills. That will be your hospitality. It will be your hospitality, it will be your farm work, it will be your construction. And I'm sure people who took time to monitor the George crisis and disaster, you will know that it exposed our laxity in dealing with construction sector as a sector. And the attractiveness of employers is that those sectors, it's easy to invite anybody at substandard wage rates. And it is this government that has a responsibility to deal with that issue and monitor it. Now, every time I go to a restaurant, I won't mention the names because I normally say it's upmarket when it is not in the upmarket. That is the legacy of being a rural boy. But you go to a restaurant, I hardly get served by a South African. We can't accept that. You go to a farm, including shepherds and actually people who look after livestock in rural areas are attracted from the neighboring countries. And we say we have an unemployment crisis. We must deal with that issue. So, having said that, it is quite important, therefore, that we confront the question of cheap labor being an attractive alternative to employment creation. We must deal with that issue. Now, we must draw a lesson from the mining sector. It's a sector I worked in, which used to have 70% of its workforce from the neighboring countries. Today, that portion is less than 20%. And there is a process that took us to that stage, and that process can be used as a lesson to educate us in dealing with challenges facing our society. For us, in the mining sector, as we set sights on addressing obstacles granting mining permits and licenses, we must translate this emergence of new mines irrespective of size. If we accelerate dealing with the backlogs, new mines must be built and people must be employed. We firmly believe that the 400 million seed capital provided by the department working with IDC is a good start, because mining starts with exploration where you discover quantity and quality of a mineral. Then you can mine and then you can process, it goes on. And linked to this is the question of supporting the artisanal mines. We're going to go to the many financial institutions and companies to support that initiative where we train artisanal miners. Many people ask me, what is an artisanal miner? I say it's a miner who uses chisel and hammer to mine. That section of the workforce is going to deal with a problem which attracts illegal mining, sterilizing marginal deposits of the mine. And therefore, those must be used to expand the labor base of the mining industry. Honorable Speaker, our country is endowed with petroleum deposits that are not yet exploited. We appeal to all South Africans to appreciate that our quest for exploration of oil and gas deposits is not a nice to have. It is important to turn around the composition of our economy, and therefore that will translate into the growth of the economy. And it will require another additional intervention. Let's deal with foreign-funded NGOs that block exploration of gas and oil, because that is blocking economic development, and we must confront it and deal with it and allow that. That doesn't mean we are not serious about responsible mining and exploration. Do that, but don't block development, because employment is a function of economic growth and development. So we're making that submission. The justice system must also look into that reality of a view to find solution to these cases up in court, because they go to court. NI, which moved to Cote d'Ivoire, was taken to court 67 times. It packed their suitcases and went to Cote d'Ivoire and made huge discoveries of oil in Cote d'Ivoire. Let's deal with that. So the justice system must accelerate the process. We must therefore accept unreservedly the need to responsible mining and petroleum exploration. That is conscious preserving the environment while accelerating development. Beneficiation is an issue that has been in our vocabulary for many years, and it is time for it to be implemented practically. Beneficiation, sometimes a nice word, but its meaning is value addition. We must not export raw commodities as they are. We must add value here and not export jobs. But there are interventions that must be done. There are interventions that must be done there. The first one is that for beneficiation to happen, we must have reliable, efficient, and affordable electricity supply. Because if you don't have that, beneficiation will collapse. Number two, we should actually have an incentive scheme for beneficiation. Beneficiation is an economic activity in the value chain of mining, and it should be treated as a business. Therefore, incentives are important for that section. That may include granting tax holidays to attract beginning of that sector. It can also mean taxing exports to discourage export of raw commodities. And therefore, we must engage the business to introduce a particular electricity dispensation. For example, there's nothing wrong in developing a commodity price linked electricity tariffs. We did have it in this country. We can look into those alternatives. Now, as we address the question of unemployment and develop framework for inclusive economic growth, we should bear in mind that involving black South Africans in economic activity
Honorable
is
Minister,
not
please.
a favor.
Thank you, Rainer.
Okay? It's not a favor, it is a necessary intervention because for many years South Africans were not active in the economic activity. Therefore, the question of black economic empowerment and affirmative action is a necessary intervention in the economy. Now, access to land, I'm not talking the same way as Honorable Hlope, not the same. But the point I'm making is access to land is a capital asset for economic activity. Therefore, it is going to be important
Honorable
for us.
Mantashe, your
Thank you
time
very
is
much.
up. Thank you. I now call upon Honorable Malema.
Thank you very much. We want to acknowledge the leadership of all political parties that form part of the progressive forces here in Parliament. These include the leadership of Umkhonto weSizwe Party, the African Transformation Movement, the United African Transformation, and the National Colored Congress. We want to salute the people of South Africa who have rejected the former liberation movement that has enjoyed political power for the last 30 years. Today, that era has come to an end. It is beyond doubt that the former liberation movement failed to turn the political power into economic power. As our forefathers in the liberation struggle in the African continent said, political power without economic power is meaningless. Mr. President, you indeed spoke like a badly wounded buffalo yesterday. You spoke like a given-up soul. Nothing inspirational came from that tired speech yesterday. You didn't speak like a person who declined electoral support with 17% to less than 50%. How on earth do you repeat a SONA speech that made you lose elections? You were saying to South Africans yesterday, in no so many ways, that you learned nothing out of these historic elections to an extent that you want to continue business as usual. We grew up being told that some of you were collaborators, but we gave you some benefits of the doubt. It was said in this house that you personally wrote a letter to the apartheid police accusing your fellow comrades of planting communist ideas in your head, and we refused to believe that story at that time. It now makes sense that despite the apartheid regime being so oppressive against all freedom fighters, you peacefully and uninterruptedly attended university and you were given your first job by the ambassadors of apartheid, capitalism, and colonialism. Without a hassle, you bought yourself a first car and a house with the assistance of the Urban Foundation, which was anchored by the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers, while your comrades were sleeping under trees in exile and languishing in jails. We asked ourselves as to how did you form a union of mine workers without being a mine worker? Can't you know? You were the conveyor belt between the workers and the super exploitative mining capitalists in South Africa after the Oppenheimers and Anglo-American had concluded that the mine workers must be organized. Our elders in the struggle have made allegations before in this house that throughout the struggle against apartheid, you were insulated from any form of arrest and harassment by the apartheid system. Towards the end of apartheid, You shockingly placed yourself at the center of the negotiation for the end of apartheid. No one knows how you arrived to be at the center of the negotiations of our liberation. It now explains as to why so many compromises and capitulations were made, leading to a situation where
Honorable
economic
Malema,
power
can you
remained
take a
in the
seat?
hands of the white
Honorable
minority.
Malema, can you take a seat? There's an order by the Deputy Chief Whip.
Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, you instructed that the Honorable member, Honorable Malema, must sit down before I raise my point of order. Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, the Honorable Malema is casting aspersion on the President, on the persona of the President. Can he please bring in a substantive motion to support his statements that he's making in the House? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. The order is sustained. Rules does make provision that if the member imputes improper motive against another member, you may do that by way of a motion, and therefore that has to be substantiated. And therefore, Honorable Malema, can you then proceed with your speech? I see there's another point of order that's been raised on DA.
Withdraw what?
Thank you, Madam House Chair. Madam House Chair, I rise on a point of order in terms of Rule 92.10, which indicates that when a point of order is raised during the debate, the member called to order must resume his or her seat, and after the point of order has been stated, the presiding officer by the member raising it, the member raising the point of order must likewise immediately resume his or her seat when she has concluded his or her submission. Madam House Chairperson, can I just get clarity on the fact when the Deputy Chief Whip of the ANC raised the point of order, the member at the podium remained standing, and I would just like your ruling on that. Thank you.
Honorable Malema, we have requested that you take your seat, but despite that, you did. Thank you very much. As I have ruled on the previous order, that was raised by the Chief Whip, Honorable Malema, can you take your podium and apologize on what you've just said? The order of
I must apologize for not sitting down.
Can you take your seat, Honorable Malema? The order was raised with regards to casting aspersions on the President. Can I be allowed time, honorable members? I will then allow you space. Order, honorable members. The order was raised with regards to the honorable member casting aspersions on the President, and accordingly. Honorable members, can you please take your seat? I have not recognized you, Honorable Shibambo. Can you please take your seat? I have not concluded. Honorable member, can you allow me please to conclude? Honorable Malema, you can take the podium, but please, can you please withdraw or rather not repeat what you have said earlier on as you proceed with your speech? Honorable members, please, can you? Honorable members, honorable members. Honorable Malema, can you sit down? Honorable Shibambo.
On a point of order, House Chair, we are going to forgive you because you are new, you don't know the rules of this parliament. When a point of order is raised, you must specify one, the rule, and the specific sentence or a phrase that you say this is a violation of the rules of the National Assembly. What the Commander-in-Chief is doing is to give a political characterization of a phenomenon. That is a point of debate. It's not casting aspersions. How else do we deal with political questions without giving context to what got to transpire to where we are now? Where else do we say that except here in this parliament? You can't suppress political debate because of your misinterpretation and misunderstanding of the rules. Please allow the speech to finish. And then when we later on go to Rules Committee, we're going to illustrate to you with proper evidence when we're inducting you that the rules do not say what you are saying that you must withdraw. Please be patient with this process. We are going to understand them when time progresses. Currently, your application is incorrect.
Thank you, Honorable Shibambo. Honorable members, Rule 53 makes provision that if a member makes personal reflection on the member's integrity that are equally offensive or damaging, which cannot be necessarily be substantiated. Therefore, that should be done by a way of a motion so that a member can substantiate what he's been saying. At this point in time, Honorable Malema has cast aspersion against the President, which needs to be substantiated accordingly, and therefore the order remains sustainable. Honorable Malema, as you proceed with your debate, can you kindly refrain from making such aspersion? Thank you very much. You may proceed.
I must proceed. Thank you very much. It now explains as to why so many compromises and capitulations were made, leading to a situation where economic power remained in the hands of the white minority, leaving black people with meaningless political power. We can today confirm that it was pure infiltration by forces of darkness. When it was clear President Mandela is not going to make you the first deputy president of the democratically elected South African government in 1994, you threw tantrums and even boycotted his inauguration. The same President Mandela you asked us to celebrate yesterday, you missed the historic moment to do so in 1994 because of personal aggrandizement. Like many people in South Africa, I stood here in this house and said we will give you the benefit of the doubt, believing that the allegations against you of being a collaborator might not be true. I will tell why I'm giving you this personal account. It is necessitated by your activities, actions, and decisions over the past weeks since the electoral defeat of the former liberation movement, which demonstrated clearly that in the battle against neo-apartheid and neo-colonialism, you chose the side of the oppressor like you did in the past, yet pretending to be with us, the oppressed people. Why will the apartheid beneficiaries say that among all black political leaders, you are the only one they can work with, to an extent that you are called a better black with a better accent, and you believe them over us? They call us criminals who must be arrested, whether we have committed any crime or not, because we disagree with them politically, and you believe them over us. Your own brothers and sisters who come from Shawela and Venda with you are today looked down because of you. You have committed to be a representative of the oppressor. The white capitalist establishment is willing to turn a blind eye to even serious allegations of wrongdoing against you, because through you, they believe that they will perpetuate the exploitation of the oppressed class and reverse the gains of the political freedom attained in 1994. It doesn't matter what you say, but we want to state categorically that the coalition between the Democratic Alliance and the Former Liberation Movement is a sellout position typical of collaborators who sacrifice and compromise the struggle against apartheid and colonialism. White minority arrogance has increased under your term of office. You should have seen them yesterday when you were speaking. It was like you are a true Tabaneka Koko Helen Zille. You boldly take these counter-revolutionary and reactionary decisions because you know you have a full protection of white capitalist establishment. All the things you said yesterday are meaningless because they are exactly what you said in the 6 State of the Nation addresses you have given since you became president in 2018. None of the commitments you made during these State of the Nation addresses have been met. You state here that the vision you are operating under is still the National Development Plan Vision 2030, whose targets have never been met and will never be met. The NDP had targeted to create a certain number of jobs, but joblessness has increased. The NDP target was to reduce unemployment by 14% in 2020, but today unemployment is 32.9% and more than 12 million people are jobless. Even if you meet the target tomorrow of achieving 14% unemployment, the fact of the matter is you miss the target here. The NDP target was to reduce poverty from 39% by 2030, but poverty today is more than 50%. More people live on poverty under your presidency than any other period in the past 30 years. The NDP target was 10% of the GDP for infrastructure investment, but between 2010 and 2022, public sector infrastructure investment was not more than 5.8%. The NDP target was to grow the economy by an average of 5.4% for it to be practical to achieve any of the NDP goals. But in the past 10 years, the economy has not grown by more than 2%. Mr. President, yesterday you shocked all of us and will never recover from that shock. You said nothing about international relations while we are living in a world defined by shifting global balance of forces. The West, under the guidance and protection of the United States of America, is agitating for a world war, which will be defined by recolonization of the African continent and the global South. And you never said anything about that. There is an ongoing aggressive war by apartheid Israel over Palestine, and you never said anything about that because your coalition partners are all fanatics of a Zionist apartheid Israel. Shame on you that you said nothing about the genocide committed right in front of us because Olabaposo. You chose glory over the dying children and women of Palestine because you are scared to offend your coalition partners. President Mandela, a close friend of President Arafat, who you said we must celebrate yesterday, should be turning in his grave. The trade embargo against Cuba is still intact, and despite the fact that Cuba played a role in the struggle against apartheid, you never said anything about that. There is instability in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and South African soldiers are dying in that war, and you never said anything about that. There is a real threat of instability in the entire SADC region, and you never said anything about that. There is loss of life in South Sudan, but you had nothing to say about that. The BRICS Forum has been joined by additional countries such as Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, Iran, and United Arab Emirates. And you never said anything about how South Africa should maximize these strategic relations to grow the economy. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, is agitating for a world war through its admission of Ukraine into NATO alliance, and you never said anything about that. This is happening while South Africa has discovered strategic oil and gas natural resources, which in itself, Minister Mantashe, is a cause for global security, but your president said nothing about that.
Even if the global balance of forces does not matter to you, there is nothing tangible you said about the high levels of crime happening in South Africa. In the past year, South Africa had more than 27,000 murder cases, and you never said anything about that. Are we being handed over to the imperialist takeover as South Africa? Mr. President, there are more than 300,000 students who have passed and attained their certificates, diplomas, and degrees, but all universities and universities of technology, huge amounts of money. We must cancel student debt and introduce free decolonized education now. You claim to have created 2 million jobs through your presidential employment stimulus, but there are no additional 2 million jobs that were created since you took office in 2018. And if you want to argue this point, go and argue with Stats SA. Another issue we need to highlight is that Kusile Power Station added an additional 800 megawatt into national grid 2 weeks ago. You never mentioned anything about that. Instead, you chose to mention 256 megawatt of unreliable energy by independent power producers, which was plugged into the grid in the Northwest Province. This is an evidence that in addition of selling fictional buffaloes at Palapala, you are also a salesperson for independent power producers. These independent power producers were at the center of why South Africa experienced perennial load shedding for years until 2 months before the elections. The land which our people desperately needed for human settlement, agriculture, public service, and business was left in the hands of the oppressors. Our people were told about willing buyer, willing seller, in a situation where violence and genocide were used to learn the dispossession of the Khoi, the San, and all indigenous people of our country. We'll amend Section 25 of the Constitution in our lifetime to allow expropriation of land without compensation. South Africa, our country is being traded. We, the progressive forces, need to constitute an alternative radical agenda. Let us do everything in our power to rescue our country from being traded on a silver platter. We call on all workers' movement, civil society, religious leaders, and traditional leaders to reject this grand coalition led by DA under the pretense of the so-called government of national unity. We, as the EFF, will not form part of a factional and a decoy of the so-called national dialogue, which happens after the government has already committed budgets and programs to this agenda. We are not in the business of talk shows. We are in an agenda to realize through economic emancipation of our people, and no matter what it takes, we will never associate with the collaborators and the sellout agenda of the establishment. Ereke Lebuche, nonyana phaku phaku ibiale ile tiye, a re thushi ke maru a o tla bo sele. Motho wa o ba le matric wo a sankang a ba subjected to a peer review comes here and calls us VBS looters. I understand the mind of a rat will not comprehend that is actually sitting with VBS looters themselves in the government of national unity. The same matriculant is a beneficiary of the loot of 20 billion of Steinhoff that was invested by public investment, by PIC. No amount of nonsensical threats of arrest can silence us. Not even death can silence us, because Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela's voice has multiplied. Ours is a generational mission. We shall overcome. Victory is certain. We want to tell you now, your days are numbered. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. I now call upon the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Your Excellency, the President, honorable members of the 7th Parliament, the past few weeks have been a whirlwind of activity. Parliament has changed, portfolios have changed, cabinet have changed, and the government have changed. The people of South Africa who went to the polls on 29 May placed the future of our country for the next 5 years in the hands of a coalition government. Up front, I must declare that the IFP is committed in making the government of national unity stable and successful, for it is the result of the will of the people of South Africa. The GNU is not about politics, but is about the will of the people and the future of our country. We campaigned and expressed our views to the electorate, but the electorate in response said, work together. Your Excellency, the IFP has been frank and honest about the state of our country and the needs of our people. For 29 years, the IFP, led by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, remained in this house as a voice of reason, urging those in power to do the right thing. The late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, whether he spoke as a leader of a constructive opposition or as a minister of cabinet or as an acting president of the Republic, he taught us in the IFP of the duty we have to speak loudly on behalf of the people. We will continue to play that role constructively in the GNU for the good of our country. The GNU is a bold and necessary step in the right direction. We have repositioned South Africa to embark on a journey of rebuilding herself and the future of our generation and the generations to come. The real work of changing the lived reality of every South African must proceed with utmost haste. The change that voters demanded needs to be practically seen, felt, and experienced in the next few months. The IFP welcomes the plan laid out yesterday evening by the President in pressing the reset button and opening a new chapter for our country under a collective wisdom, skills, and capabilities of leaders who chose to work together for the sake of the people of South Africa. The IFP welcomes the position taken by the President about a review of the municipal funding model to ensure that municipalities can become fully functional. This will mark a turning point in our history's 30-year history. As we build on the foundations laid, let us build with new energy. The IFP believes that the local government is a critical sphere of government to impact the lasting development and change in the lives of the people of South Africa. It is for this reason that Cocta's budget speech this week was themed, open quote, every municipality must work, close quote. As the Minister of Cocta, I am determined to see all municipalities receive the administrative, technical, and financial support needed to become viable, able to deliver, and able to maintain the infrastructure, because that is what is mandated to do. I also thank the President for his commitment to appoint the political champions of the district development model to fast-track the one-plan solution. With the DDM institutionalized, champions working tirelessly, and Cocta playing its role, we will ensure that every municipality works. Because traditional and cohesion leaders are key role players in a stable democracy, the IFP will champion the interest and deepen the working in partnership with the traditional and Khoisan leaders. Honorable members, climate change has placed us in a challenging times. Disasters are happening in rapid succession, necessitating a new approach to disaster management that is proactive, less bureaucratic, and timeous. The IFP is committed to the continued development of a new approach in dealing with disaster management. This week, I undertook assessment visits to areas in the Cape Metro and KwaZulu-Natal where communities have been devastated by floods and fires. Our deepest condolences remain with all who have lost loved ones in these disasters. As the Lion Foundation Minister for Disaster Management, I gained clear insight from these victims into the needed interventions, enabling us to engage with communities, with multiple departments, putting together solutions. The government of national
Honourable
unity
Minister, can you please wrap?
must be revealed as a responsive, empowering force for good. It must work as the IFP has always done, hand in hand with the people. The IFP is committed to a national dialogue to address social cohesion, landlessness, and the growing gap between the rich and the poor. We are committed in creating a stable GNU that is responsive and delivers. This is the commitment of the IFP to the
Honourable
people of South
Minister, your
Africa.
time is up.
I thank you.
Thank you. And now upon Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the House, Madam Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Chairperson and Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, Your Excellency Deputy President of the country, Deputy President Mashatile, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. In 2010, a group of young people who were leading the ANC Youth League at that particular time went to Zimbabwe to go and do a study, and they had an opportunity to meet with the late President Mugabe. And one of the things that he left, and I was part of that delegation, and some people, of course, that are no longer in the ANC, we were told something that I felt that has actually guided some of us in agreeing and celebrating the government of national unity. The late President Mugabe said to us, when he went to visit President Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, he said, "You must never sacrifice principle at the altar of political expedience."
Honourable
It
Minister,
is for this reason.
There's a point of order. Can you kindly take your seat? Honourable Ndlozi. Can you take your seat, Minister?
Do I take a seat? Okay.
Minister, who led the delegation to Zimbabwe?
Honourable Ndlozi,
Can you give us
please
on the
take a
record,
seat?
please
That's
take
not
South
a
Africans
protest.
into confidence as to who led the delegation to Zimbabwe
Honourable Ndlozi,
of the
can you
ANC
please
Youth
take
League?
your seat? Allow the minister to continue with her speech.
I will not answer that. And he did say that in order to guide us politically, so that in our plight to grow in politics, we must always remember what constitutes a principle. In this regard, Excellency Mr. President Ramaphosa, I would like to congratulate the members of the GNU because they did put their political differences aside, came together to build a government that would then now take South Africa forward. They forgot whatever it is that they believed against each other and said that, what do we need to do to serve South Africa? What do we need to do to ensure that South Africa move forward and we do respect the electorate that put us where we are? So congratulations, Mr. President, congratulations to the members of the GNU, because in most cases, GNUs are constituted over a long period. With ourselves, it was constituted within a month. So for that, I would like to say you did very well. You stick to principle, and that's what needs to guide us and make us move forward. Honorable members, in April 2024, 30 years of democracy was actually celebrated. We did that by commemorating this milestone when the President launched a 30-year review report on the 8th of May 2024, and that report represents the government's assessment of progress made from 1994 to date. The review was based on a set of 13 thematic goals that were identified by the National Development Plan, and these priorities were actually also done in the sixth administration. On the 30-year review and social transformation, the orientation of the public service has shifted from serving the minority to serving all sections of the population. Consequently, in 2022, the number of households by access or had access to electricity, piped water, sanitation, and that one has increased in 80%. This has removed millions of households from deprivation, thereby improving indicators of multidimensional poverty index and the Human Development Index. South Africa's social wage is one of the most comprehensive in the world and has proven to be an effective anti-poverty tool. The social wage covers all healthcare services, free water and electricity for the indigent, free schools, public housing, school nutrition, and early childhood development. And this has expanded financial support for students at universities and TVET colleges through the NSFAS. Priority 2 that the President has spoken about in the MTDP has actually spoken to this, and we will be building on top of what we have already done before in the 30 years to ensure that our people are served. Our country is moving towards a universal access to education at all levels, and it has improved overall educational outcomes and skills development opportunities, resulting in an improved population-level educational outcomes, such as the literacy and levels of educational qualification per age cohort. These are important pillars for a modern knowledge-based society. Equally, we have improved access to healthcare and are now working towards an ambition of universal access to health. Among others, the expansion of clinics, hospitals, and the healthcare infrastructure, increased primary healthcare, has already serviced more people, and it has also included the fact that we are almost accessing what we have set for ourselves. We have also seen that there are a lot of healthcare diseases that has reduced, such as the AIDS-related death. The National Development Plan remains our lodestar, and the long-term plan as adopted by Parliament in 2012. Its goals are the eradication of poverty, reduce inequality, and reduce unemployment. The 10-year review of the NDP highlighted that insufficient progress has been made, but also proposed corrective actions for the remaining 6 years of this implementation. It is for this reason that in this MTDP of 2024 to 2029, which is the 7th administration, we will concentrate on making sure that we move the needle as it relates to the priorities of the NDP. To support the implementation of this NDP, the Medium-Term Development Plan of 2024-29, which is the 5-year plan that I've just spoken about, has been developed, and this was based, of course, on the fact that we needed to align to the NDP, but it has also been informed by the fact that we had, as the GNU, a statement of intent that we came together to agree upon for the sake of South Africa. Emerging areas of priority. This is a full appreciation, of course, of what I've already said, but this is also a major task that we have to get to the economy to perform at all its potential and create employment and economic opportunities for the people of South Africa and Africa and the world. In order to improve coordination and agenda setting during this term, the presidency will be strengthened to improve coordination of policy, integrated planning, and oversight in support of development outcomes. The MTDP of 2024 to 2029 will be supported by an evidence-based, not just things that we think about or gossip, but evidence-based outcomes and framework that will enable the integrated monitoring of progress against the set indicators and targets. Government clusters will support the MTDP implementation, supported by the applications of relevant monitoring and evaluation tools. As it relates to DDM, the DDM is designed, of course, as we all know, to address problems with service delivery by allowing all spheres of government to work together in a more effective and coordinated way. This is intended to assist municipalities, just like the Minister of Cocktail said here, to better plan, budget, and also implement programs and to ensure that work of municipalities is managed. We are planning to make sure that we do strengthen DDM so that we can better monitor and evaluate the performance of government in all spheres of government. Given the governance and performance of SOEs, as the President has said yesterday, the President in 2020 established a presidential SOE Council to reform, reposition, and revitalize state-owned enterprises. And it did that to be able to ensure that we do have state enterprises that are effective and are also used as an instrument of economic transformation and development. The PSC, or the PSEC, noted the critical development role of SOEs and recognized serious deficiencies in the South African model and functioning of SOEs. As a result, it has then now been able to come up with recommendations that said that we needed to strengthen our SOEs, and as a result, it has recommended that we needed to ensure that we create, as the President has said yesterday, a centralized model that will allow us to strengthen our SOEs and ensure that whatever it is that they do not.
Minister, can you kindly wrap up?
Okay, thank you so much. Let me just close by saying that there is a lot that this government has done. So as a result, we've got a lot that we are going to build on. It doesn't help that we keep on talking about new things, but it helps that we build on what we have already established. As a result, what we will be doing will be to strengthen, but also to improve and ensure that whatever it is that we are doing grows better and also grows to other people, so that if we have been able to do something for 10% in this 7th administration, we'll definitely make sure that we do it for 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I now call upon the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture.
Honorable Chair, Madam Speaker, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, Honorable Deputy President Paul Mashatile. President, let me thank you for making sure that what our people were fighting for during the election, that it found expression in the plans of the GNU. There is now, we have the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We're speaking about the issue of minerals being exported, and most importantly, gang violence. You have listened to us, President, and I would have been a sellout if I was sitting outside. My people walked in the rain, they did door to door for their issues to be represented.
Please take your seat. There's a point of order. Honourable Joseph.
I'd like to call a point of order, House Chair, because a government minister cannot deliberately mislead the House. There is no sovereign wealth fund in this country. You must withdraw. There's no such a thing. At this stage where you are, it's not those talks by the streets you are having. You must speak facts on behalf of a government. There's no sovereign wealth fund in this country. You must withdraw. Take us serious here.
Honourable Minister, can you please proceed?
Your peers, you always talk about education, Honorable Ndlozi. Your peers are delivering papers while you are ice boy here being sent around must not come to me. Don't tell me about education. I want to thank you, President. President, one man was calling me, one gentleman at the airport was calling me a racist. And I asked him, why are you saying I'm a racist? And he said, whenever you speak only about colored people, it's colored people, colored people. And I engaged him. And President, let me tell you, the issues of colored people has not been addressed yet. And I want you to be the first president, Honorable, to address the national question. All presidents were scared to address the national question. If you can address the national question, you shall be the first. I want to tell the GNU, what we have achieved is remarkable. It is the best thing that could have happened to this country. South Africa is going to go forward together. The ones that want to remain, let them remain. The GNU, we are going forward. And I will tell you a secret. The only reason why they call us sellouts, because they are not on the GNU train. They bought the wrong ticket. President, want to tell you, I salute you, because what you have done, you have put South Africa first. We've had many differences between us. You put that aside and you say, my differences with Mackenzie cannot stop me from taking a decision for the benefit of this country. And I want to salute you. I want to say to the Honorable Judge Klope, I want to say to Honorable Judge Klope, I'm sitting there and I'm shocked because you, Honorable Judge, have sent many of my old friends to jail with Roman Dutch law, which you enjoyed. While you were getting you talk about the blue lights. While you were getting the perks of the judge, being a judge, you never saw something wrong with blue light. You never saw something wrong with Roman Dutch law. Today, when you're no longer there, now you are seeing something wrong with Roman Dutch law. It cannot be. I'm going to pay for an appeal for everybody that has been sentenced by you, because you sentenced them with the wrong law according to you. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Order, honorable members, order. I now call upon the Minister of Correctional Services. Order, honorable members, order. Can you please take your seats, honorable members? Honorable Ndlovu, there's no speaker on the floor. What are you rising on?
Chairperson, there needs not be a speaker on the floor for me to raise an order. I hope we can agree on that. So I'd like...
You can proceed, honorable.
Thank you very much. The judge has written a thesis when he was on the bench, attacking Roman Dutch law.
Honorable Ndlovu.
Your illiteracy is not going to help us.
Can you please sit down?
This judge
Honorable
has
Ndlovu.
written papers against Roman Dutch
Honorable
law
Ndlovu, can you
when he
please
was
sit
on
down?
the bench.
Can you take the
You come here and you lie. You lie.
This judge spoke about decolonization of the law from the bench. Don't lie here, man. Must read extensive, well-researched papers that are peer-reviewed. Yes, yes. And he didn't say anything about sports, about arts. He gets there.
Honorable.
O bolela ka trongo kwa batho ba batla ho tseba what's going to happen about the arts.
From Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable members, can I bring it to the attention of the House? Members, please don't abuse your privilege or your right to raise a point of order. What we've just seen from Honorable Ndlozi is unbecoming, and therefore it will not be sustained in the House. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Geachte voorzitter, through you, Honorable President, the slogan of the Freedom Front Plus in this last election was restore and build. Now, the question is, what must we restore and what must we build? Honorable Chair, to understand that, we must identify the problem. And we must be honest towards each other. We are living in a broken country. We have an economic growth of less than 1%. But Africa, the average economic growth is 3.7%.
Honorable
It means
Minister, can
there's
you please
a
take
problem.
your seat? There's a hand at the back, Honorable Van Rooyen. Honorable members, can you please take your seat? Honorable members, can you please take your seat? For the last time, honorable members, I'm requesting you to take the seat. This can't go on like this, honorable members. Can we allow Honorable Van Rooyen to speak?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to check if Honorable Groenewald is he ready to take a question.
Honorable Groenewald, are you prepared to take a question? Honorable Groenewald, are you prepared to take a question? Can you respond? Honorable Groenewald.
Agbare voorsitter, ek reageer nie op onsinnighede nie.
I didn't hear the answer. I'm not wearing my interpreter.
Thank you very much, Honorable Van Rooyen. You can take your seat. Honorable Groenewald, can you continue?
Oh, I just wanted
with your
to check
debate?
with him if he's ready to tell the nation who killed Chris Hani. Who killed Chris Hani?
Honorable Van Rooyen, you are abusing your right to speak on the floor. Honorable Groenewald, please take your, the podium.
Another aspect we must also realize, Honorable President, is the criminality in South Africa and the crime is
Honorable
of such
Groenewald,
nature.
can you take your seat? There's a hand at the back there. Honorable member.
Francis Mfikilona from Mkandule. I want Amalala, Solos. Welcome in this parliament.
Honorable member, What you are doing is not allowed in the House. Honorable Groenewald, can you please proceed?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Our people do not feel safe in South Africa. And to address that, we will have to look at the criminal justice system as a whole, because that plays an important role if we want to build the economy.
Honorable Groenewald, can you please take your seat? There's a hand over there right at the back.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and my apologies, Honorable Groenewald. I'm not raising an order on you. I rise on Rule 40C of the joint rules of people who deliberately undermine the authority of the chairperson, and actions should be taken around that. Because what we see here is members acting disorderly, deliberately in the House. And I want to ask you, Chair, that you put an end to that. We are not in a circus here. Honorable Ndlozi just rises up and give a lecture as if he's a pastor here in the House. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, we are all expected to respect the decorum of the House. And therefore, as such, all of us, we do have the responsibility to conduct ourselves in a manner that is befitting. What we've been doing, it's unheard of, and please don't push us to take decisions that we are not interested in. And therefore, can we please allow Honorable Groenewald to continue with his debate?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The crime must be addressed, the criminal justice system. We know unemployment in South Africa, we talk about 42%. When we refer to the young people of South Africa, we talk about 60% of unemployment. And the question that must be asked is that what the Honorable President said yesterday, he said it is the priorities we will have to attend to. And everyone must ask him or herself, do they agree that the policies and the matters that the President has put on the table, whether they also see those as priorities? Because if we deal with the priorities, then we can have success. What is also of utmost importance is our local government. Because if you establish a factory or a business, it is part of a specific municipality. We must look at the infrastructure. And the Freedom Front Plus also supports very strongly the fact that the appointments must be merit-based appointments. We must ensure that we get the best people to do the job. We must be honest towards each other. At the moment, we have officials, whether they are catering deployment, but they are not qualified to do their job. And then we have people who are qualified, but they don't do their job. And we must ensure that that must be corrected. Die Vryheidsfront Plus het vir die kiesers van Suid-Afrika aan sy veldtog gesê, kom ons herstel en bou. Ons is almal deel van Suid-Afrika. As die skip sink, sink ons almal saam. Maak nie saak aan watter politieke party jy behoort nie. En omdat die Vryheidsfront Plus gesê het, ons moet herstel en bou, is daar besluit om te sê, hier is 'n geleentheid om te sê, kom ons herstel en ons bou. But we must also be honest. We can't only have policies on paper. We, as government, and note I say we have the responsibility to ensure that it is implemented.
Honourable Minister, can you please round up?
We have the responsibility to be sure that we implement those policies. As the Honourable President once said, the seat you have in Parliament does not belong to you, but to the people. We must be accountable to the people, and the Freedom Front Plus will ensure that we restore and build.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now call upon the Premier of Limpopo.
Honorable Madam Speaker, the Chair of National Council of Provinces, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, Deputy President.
Honourable Premier, can you please take your seat? There's a point of order.
Honorable Chair, we have a former statesman in the House. He has not been recognized. Please recognize President Jacob Zuma for being in the House.
Honourable Minister, can you please take the podium?
Honorable Deputy President Tatana Mashatile, members of the two houses, ladies and gentlemen, I rise on behalf of the descendants of the warriors of Sekhukhune, the descendants of the warriors of Makhado, of Gungunyane, of Mukopane, and many other great warriors whose land we continue to make the lives of their residents better. I rise on behalf of the sons and daughters of the rain-making queen and on the rain-making powers of Queen Mujaji to welcome and support the opening address by our President, Muatamela Zwibuya Ramaphosa. Vane vachi uposa miseve, yabo ya sala yo ima, ngeno ya veiwe vangwe ichiwela pasi, which has chartered a path that we shall follow as we grow this country together. I stand here, Madam Speaker, today on the shoulders of May Charlotte Maxeke, on May Stella Mabitse Sekhwale, on Mam Lydia Ngwenya Komape, on Kgoshikgadi Madinoga, and the pioneering spirit of Manchi Masimula. I'm here under the tutelage of the great Peter Nchabeleng, of May Joyce Mashamba, of Vuledzani Bulala, of Norman Mashabane, and Chipua Muope. It is the youthful of revolutionary poise of Peter Mukaba, of Collins Chabani, of Tracy Malachi, of Franz Mutlala that set me at peace here today. Pare Mutrupi, Elias Ramaliba, Lawrence Pukanuka, Mark Shope, and many other sons and daughters of Limpopo have fought to see where Limpopo is today. They have paved the way for our democratic government and service provision in Limpopo. Reflecting on the achievement of the Limpopo government since 1994, Honorable Speaker, it is evident that we have made significant progress in consolidating democratic governance and providing basic services to our residents. The people of Limpopo that we rise on their behalf have consistently shown their support for their democratic system. as evident by the recent election of the ANC as the ruling party, rejecting all those Honorable Hlophe who disparately tried very hard along tribal lines, using our traditional leaders to try to divide our people. Hence, you saw the 74%. Our province has seen remarkable improvements in the provision of essential services, such as, if we go back to 1996, electricity supply was at 36%. Today, we are at 97%, Honorable Minister Ramokgopa. Access to piped water was at 33.5% in 1996. In 2010, we improved to 84%. And we know what happened, which resulted in dropping it to now at 69.1%. And we welcome, Mr. President, your pronouncement on making sure that the people of Limpopo, rural as they are, they deserve water because they also form part of the struggle of the liberation. Our rural communities must be provided with clean drinking water. Sanitation was at some stage in 1996 at 27%. Today we are at 63.1%. Our roads from 2,500 kilometers in 1994 that were tarred to today at 7,000 kilometers that have been either tarred or paved. Despite many challenges, these and many other developments have made Limpopo a great province that it is today. We have greatly enhanced the quality of life for our residents. Limpopo's economy has undergone significant transformation since 1994. Despite facing long challenges such as slow economic growth, unemployment, and inequality, the province boasts a wealth of mineral resources, fertile agricultural land, and tourist attraction that have contributed to its economic development. Mr. President, we are a rural province, and I must emphasize, and building an inclusive economy which also drives rural economic transformation is what we need currently the most. Our province has consistently demonstrated the ability to feed itself. Our people have already demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that even without large tracts of farmland, they are farmers in their own right who can produce for their own livelihood. Recent statistics show that Limpopo is leading in food security. Its people can cultivate food for their own survival. This fits well with your directive of prioritizing rural development, and together we must focus on supporting them to now use agriculture for commercial purposes. They have proven to you that they can farm, so what more do you want from them except supporting them? We have started engagement with businesses focusing on enhancing manufacturing capability, agro-processing, and agricultural produce, and establishing mineral beneficiation capacity in Limpopo, with the aim of reducing the transportation of raw materials that could easily be processed in our province and thus create jobs. Gone will be the days very soon of exporting all tomatoes raw as they are without having to manufacture tomato sauce. Gone will be the days where we continuously export timber but have to import a toothpick. So as a province, we need to start there. It might appear small, but it will go a long way in creating jobs for our people. The mining sector, which accounts to 26% of the province GDP in 2023, has been a key driver of economic growth, creating employment opportunities and fostering sustainable development. Similarly, manufacturing, construction, agriculture, tourism, and the gaming sector have contributed significantly to the province economy, highlighting the diverse economic landscape of Limpopo. Looking ahead to the 7th administration, our strategic focus will be on water and road infrastructure development, youth empowerment through skills development and job creation, and economic transformation through mining beneficiation, agro-processing, and renewable energy initiatives. We are committed to accelerating industrialization in Limpopo by finalizing the establishment and operationalization of the specific economic zones, our Musina, Makado, and the Fitakhomu towards. This will drive economic growth, attract investment, and create sustainable enterprises. We are actively engaging with the national government to expedite the approval of Fitakhomu towards the SCZ proposal and upgrade the Gateway International Airport to serve as a vital cargo hub in the SADC region. Our other catalytic projects, Madam Speaker, including the revitalization of industrial parks such as Sishiru, Libuakhomu, Shaandima, and Nkonko, and the Polokwane Logistics Hub. Aim is to enhance economic opportunities and promote the development of local industries. Limpopo has been consistently ranked amongst the top 3 destinations for both domestic and international tourists. I still insist, Honorable President, that up to this day, when God created a man, I don't want to even imagine where he was and what inspired him to create this gender. But I can, without fear of contradiction, that when God created a woman, he was situated in Waterberg, inspired by the beauty of its biosphere. We would want to capitalize on this market, especially the legion of international travelers who must come to explore more routes that we shall have developed, including the routes that celebrate Limpopo's contribution to the liberation wars against colonialism and freedom, with direct links to the rest of SADC. It is an open secret that even the Umkhonto weSizwe, the real Umkhonto weSizwe, when it was formed, they were inspired by King Sekhukhune when he led the Sibatakhomu. By harnessing the potential of tourism and niche markets, we seek to further boost economic growth and create employment opportunities in Limpopo. When honorable members in your different provinces, you speak about the Big Five, we in Limpopo, the descendant of Makado in Vembe district, speaks about the Big Six. And you will be asking me, what is that? I'm inviting you to visit this district where you will see the biggest baobab tree in the whole world. Youth development is a key priority for us, and we are committed to reskilling young people to meet the demands of an industrialized economy. In addition to our industrialization strategy, we have prioritized skills development as a key pillar to advance sustainable growth youth development program. We believe that we, if...
Can you please wind up? No, you still have time.
Oh, calm
Just
down.
wind up.
Our partnership with Tshwane University of Technology and the Department of Higher Education and Training will, in not so distant future, see a new university campus in Giyani established. The province is committed to see successful completion of this university. As I'm concluding, road infrastructure is another key enabler of inclusive economic growth, especially to our local rural economy. Therefore, road maintenance is not only key for the locals to access services such as schools, healthcare, police station, graveyards, but also for them to move their goods from one area to another. As I've already indicated, they are farmers in their own right. Out of more than 20,000 kilometer roads that we have in the province, 13,400 are neither tarred nor paved. Hence, we agree with you, Mr. President, that yellow fleets must be able to reach those areas. In my language, in my province, we call them Dikherekhere. Hence, we have Dikherekhere Wednesday. And I must declare to this house that Dukherekhere has got nothing to do with a tender. Many of you will be salivating to think another project. It's an in-sourced program where we are currently using the yellow fleet that we have and the staff that we have. What we need from the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Public Works, it's more allocation towards the Dikherekhere. In conclusion, I'm reminded of Desmond Tutu, who said, hope is being able to see that there is light despite
Honorable member, please take your
darkness.
seat. Thanks. I now call upon Honorable Trolle.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable President, sadly, last night was a deja vu moment for myself and all too many South Africans. Your understandable sales pitch for your new government and promises might have sounded fantastic to the naive amongst us, but the electorate who showed their jaundice towards your last government know that these were flights of fantasy. Because, Honorable President, we don't trust you anymore. We don't believe you anymore. We haven't seen a smart city. All we see is broken cities. We've heard your "we will do" speeches so often, but we've never heard you say "we have done" speech in Parliament before. You have started your second term in office really badly by appointing almost 20% of the people in this Parliament to your cabinet. That says to the people of South Africa that your government is more important than they are. While some in this House are going to go to court about what you call your government, we don't care. If I can borrow from Romeo and Juliet, what's in a name? That which you call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. South Africans want change. They want security, dignity, and the independence of a job. They took your previous majority away because you couldn't grow the economy, create jobs, deliver services to them effectively, and keep them safe in their homes. You need to repair our international reputation before we will be able to attract the foreign direct investment so badly needed to grow our economy. Investors want political stability. They want policy certainty. You need to get us off the international grey listing. You need to stop corruption. You need to eradicate violent crime. Being one of the most violent nations in the world where women are objectified, routinely abused and murdered is a disgrace. Criminality is entrenched in our society, and we experience it daily with wanton and uncontrolled theft, vandalization, and destruction of our economic and service delivery infrastructure. This drives away investment and destroys our economy. Last night, you claimed that 80% of all passenger rail services are operational again. That is not a fact. It's not true. South Africa has extraordinary mineral and agricultural wealth, virtually unparalleled environmental endowment, including an incredibly richly diverse marine life with a spectacular coastline. But most importantly, what South Africa has is the most prized attraction of 400 years ago and still remains so now, is our geopolitical global positioning and marvelous climate. Why can't you leverage that? With all of these bounties, we should be a thriving economy with a thriving country with a world-topping economy. We know that our history has militated against this and prevented us achieving our full potential. So let's not entrench our uncontrollable volition to undermine ourselves and to continue to drive ourselves apart. In this regard, I want to caution South Africans and your government not to be distracted nor to succumb to the self-harm disorder that some political parties display in this House. As Hamlet pondered in Shakespeare's soliloquy, these parties display a schizophrenic characteristic: to be or not to be. Their paradoxical offer won't fix anything. We need an El Salvador rehabilitation such as that being led by President Nayib Bukele Ortez. From being the most violent country in South America to the most peaceful country in South America in 2 years. You need to stop crime. You need to stop corruption. You need to stop service delivery mafia by declaring war on those who perpetrate these crimes. In this
Please
regard,
wind up, Honourable Member.
it can't be. It can't be time.
There's a watch in front of you, Honourable Member.
I beg your pardon?
There's a watch in front of you.
I can't hear you.
There's a watch in front of you, Honourable Member. Please round up.
I'm going to round up like the previous speaker for a while. As we watch the inevitable public exposure of the incorrigible theft of poor people's life savings from the VBS Bank, you must know that this is going to detonate the inevitable demand for public exposure of the Phala Phala saga, and your government's survival will depend on your innocence or guilt. Because, Honourable President, corruption infraction, large or small, must be dealt with equally. We will not fall into the trap that your newfound partners have of equivocation and making odious comparisons of extent. We will not allow Phala Phala to become this Parliament's next fire
Honourable
pool
Member, your
disgrace.
time is up. Thank
We
you.
as Action SA will give you the benefit of the doubt as you are a new
Honourable
government.
Member, your time is up.
But if you don't
Can you
fix
please
the
switch
problems
off
of
your
this
mic?
country, I'm just rounding up like the previous speaker. If you don't fix
you
the
please
problems
switch
of this
off the
country,
mic?
the election is coming. I'm rounding up.
Honourable Member, your time is up. Thank you. Honourable Member, the time is 1 o'clock. We are breaking for lunch. We are expected to come back at 2 o'clock. I am told that lunch is served in the banquet hall, second floor. The bells will be rang 10 minutes before the start of the next session. Thank you very much.